I'm going to be preaching on a Caleb legacy. Somebody say a Caleb legacy. We preached on a Caleb generation, and so I wanted to follow it up with a Caleb legacy, because whenever there's a Caleb generation, then follows a Caleb legacy. You ain't hearing me this morning. Come on. I know it's 9 o'clock service, but I need y'all to talk back to me this morning. Whenever there's a Caleb generation, there's a Caleb legacy to come after. When there's a generation that says, I won't sit back and be quiet when everybody else is scared to attain the promise, I'm going to take what the Lord has promised me, then comes a Caleb legacy. There's a legacy that comes after that's bold, just like the fathering generation. There's a legacy that comes after. Come on, somebody. My daughters, winter and summer, they're going to be bold in the promises of God because their daddy and their mama was faithful to the Lord. Come on. Because when you have a Caleb legacy, let me say it like this. Today's passivity is tomorrow's captivity. What we let slide today will be the next generation's reality. And that's why we need a generation to rise up. Somebody say rise up. So say this with me, a Caleb legacy. And a Caleb legacy is about promise. It's about perseverance. And then it's about possession. For those that want to take notes, it's about 3 P's. Promise, perseverance, and then it's about possession. And I believe that if we want to be the people that God's called us to be, the first thing we need to do is learn how to stand on the promise. Because if you notice, when Pastor Ray was preaching last week, God gave Moses the word to send Caleb, Joshua, and the other tribes into this promised land. And he says, this is the promised land I'm giving you. He makes it clear that he says, this is the promised land I'm giving you. And so what's crazy is when God says that it's yours already, you just got to claim it. You don't got to start to see it with eyes of fear. You don't got to start to wonder how we're going to attain it because there's giants in the land. Caleb and Joshua had this attitude that said, if God said it's ours, then it's ours. I'm not sure about the details. I'm not sure how we're going to work it out, but if God said it, he'll perform it. Come on, somebody. And so Caleb, he says, with boldness and with faith, we can do this. We can do this. But I want to preach about the second part. I want to preach about the part where he goes to possess it. The part where it's 45 years later. Now, what I love about this is that Caleb is the one who's not afraid, and he's from the tribe of Judah. Come on, I'm about to preach. Somebody who knows their Bible's catching this. Talk to me real quick. Caleb is from the tribe of Judah, and Judah means praise. And that's because whenever our fear tells us one thing, the leaders of the tribe of Judah, I'm talking about the ones who knows how to praise, the person in this place that knows how to give God some praise will begin to lift up a voice and a shout when everybody else is afraid. He's from the tribe of praise. It's like, do you know where I'm from? How many know you don't mess with those peeps from the east side, right? He's from the tribe of praise. Devil don't want nothing with Christians from the tribe of praise. Devil don't want nothing with Christians that know how to lift up their voice and tell God he's good when the situation ain't good. Devil don't want nothing with the Christians that say, I'll still believe in the promise, even though there's all these giants in the land and the walls are fortified. I'm still going to believe in the promise, the tribe of praise. I also love that the Bible talks about the tribe of Judah is the biggest tribe. So you walk a little more confident when you're rolling with the pride. Come on, somebody. He's got a little bit more boldness because he's got the biggest. They're probably like, man, yeah, it's easy to be brave when you got the biggest tribe over there, Caleb. But I love that because we're better together. Can I talk to somebody this morning? We're better together. Can I talk to my generation that just thinks you could just go to church online and that's it? You don't want no community. You don't want no fellowship. You don't want discipleship. You don't want accountability. You don't want spiritual authority. We're better together. Come on, somebody. Can I talk about it? I'm at home this morning, so I'm going to preach it like it is. Right? From a bigger tribe. They say tigers are bigger than lions. But the reason why lions run the jungle is because they roll with the bigger pride. And tigers like to roll solo. Come on, somebody. Devil can't creep up on you because you got a squad with you. Come on. And so let's talk about this in Joshua chapter 14. And I want to talk about promise. 14 verse 6. It says, then the children of Judah came to Joshua in Gilgal. And Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, how did we say it last week? Jephunneh, said to him, you know the word which the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me. Listen to this. This is 45 years later after what Pastor Ray was preaching about last week. Can I talk to somebody that knows that the promise isn't always overnight? The promise isn't always overnight. 45 years later, and they're still waiting to receive and attain this part of the promise. He's 45 years later, and he begins to recite. As 45 years has gone by, he still remembers the promise. As 45, and how many know a lot can happen in 45 years? He's probably had ups, he's probably had downs, but he comes to this place where he says, 45 years later, I still remember the promise that God made to me. Look, check this out. He says, I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. And look what he says. And I brought back word to him as was in my. He said, I brought back word to him as was in my. See, my peers brought back word to him as was in their mind. But I brought back word to him as was in my. Because when it don't look good, you got to understand that in your heart, God said it. He'll perform it. He'll do it. I brought back word to him in my heart. The NIV said, I brought back word to Moses. Somebody's going to catch this right here. I brought back word to Moses as was in my convictions. You ever had that scripture where the thug comes out of you? The kingdom music comes out of you for everybody at Rise Church Abilene. You got a Brian T. ad-lib when you read the Bible. My people waiting on their check from Trump. You know what's funny about that song? We say all these lines about the Lord, and when he says that song at the concert, everybody's like, yeah. Even me. I'm like, yeah, stimmy, hit that stimmy. Where that stimmy at? We were talking about the prodigal son. A modern day prodigal son would be, he squandered his stimulus check. Come on, somebody. And this part of the word hit me like that. It says, I was 40 years old, and I brought back word to him as was in my convictions. I feel like he intentionally says that, Pastor Todd, because I feel like there's a part of him that might be saying, I could have doubted too, but I felt it in my heart. I didn't think with my mind. I didn't think with my eyes, with my vision, because we walk by faith and not by sight. He says, I brought back word to him as was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren who went up with me, come on, put them out there. Come on, talk about it, Caleb. Just vent for a moment, let it all out. Nevertheless, and they're already gone. That generation's already passed because they couldn't believe. That's a whole nother message. Nevertheless, my brethren who went up with me made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly followed the Lord my God. Notice that 45 years later, he's saying the same stuff. 45 years later, he's on the same mission. I brought back word, and I followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So Moses swore on that day, saying, surely the land where your foot has trodden shall be your inheritance and your children's forever, because you have wholly followed the Lord my God. He says, I got a promise. He's beginning to recite the promise. You want to know what the definition of perseverance is? It tripped me out because we say that word, but perseverance literally means steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay. Faithfulness in doing something despite difficulty or delay. Come on, somebody. I'm talking about a 45-year delay. Come on. Some of y'all can't. Some of y'all leave in a week sometimes when you don't get your breakthrough. Come on, somebody. He's here for 45 years in difficulty and delay. And he's still believing the promise. And I started to wonder, Pastor Ray, what is keeping him for 45 years? When this promise was made 45 years earlier, what's keeping him? Because there's highs, there's lows. And I begin to remember the scripture in Isaiah 30. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Come on, somebody, if you know it. They shall mount up on wings like eagles. Come on. They shall walk and not grow weary. They shall run and shall not faint. And so while the devil thinks he's chiseling down, Caleb, I'm talking to somebody that knows how to wait on the promise. While the devil might think he's chiseling down Caleb by making him wait, because of the way that Caleb's waiting. Man, I'm trying to get you to catch this. It's not about just waiting. It's what you do when you wait. It's not about waiting. It's what you do in the waiting. Because when you're waiting on the Lord, you're not getting weaker, you're getting stronger. When you're waiting on the Lord, the devil's not taking your faith, it's just adding to your faith. When you're waiting on the Lord, the promise is becoming more and more clear. It's not distant. Why? Because the way you're waiting. Well, y'all just be waiting. I'm waiting for my wife, brother. No job. No job. I got no job. Got no house. I'm waiting on my wife, brother. It's what you're doing in the waiting. It's how you're preparing for the promise. And if Caleb wasn't waiting the right way, then 45 years later, I promise he wouldn't be talking like this. But he waited on the Lord. I promise you that throughout the process of those 45 years, he was saying, God, I know you're faithful to perform your promise. If you said it, you'll do it. And let me just get you to the human part of Caleb, because Caleb is probably thinking about his children too. Because the promise wasn't just for him. It said, this is your inheritance for your children. And so Caleb in his heart says, I got to hold on to this promise because it's not just for me. Even when I get tired, this is for the next generation. This is for the ones coming after me. And if I don't stay patient and wait in God for the promise, I'll miss it. Then the next gen will miss it. But he's talking the same 45 years later in delay. Somebody say promise. Look what he says in the next part. And this is the part of perseverance. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive. You got to understand the context of this, because he's talking to the next generation. He's talking to everybody there. He's talking amongst him and Joshua, but there's more going on. He's trying to recite the promise because these young ones that are coming up, they weren't there when the first time this happened, 45 years later. Their parents were, but they weren't able to believe the promise, so they're gone. They gone, somebody. Come on. Gone with the wind. Right? And the children are coming up now. And I love that he's reciting the promise. I believe partly for them. I believe partly for them. In a way, I would think of it like your fathers couldn't believe this, so I need you guys to believe this in this next generation. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive. And he said these 45 years, ever since the Lord spoke this word to Moses while Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, oh man, this is good. And now here I am this day, 85 years old. As yet I am strong this day, as on the day that Moses sent me. I'm about to preach in this place. He says, I am strong this day as the day when Moses sent me. You know what this looks like in our generation? I'm just as passionate about souls today as I was when I first got saved. I'm just as passionate about the presence of God as I was when I first came to know him. I'm just as passionate about the house of God as I was. Caleb's making a statement. He's making a statement. He says, here I am this day, 85 years old. Do I got the older generation in this place that says, here I am. Here I am. Heartbreak, here I am. Devil took some stuff, here I am. Depression, walked through it, here I am. Anxiety, walked through it, here I am. I couldn't see the vision, it wasn't clear for a little bit, but here I am, here I stand. I know your story might not be perfect, but I got news for you, newsflash, you're still here. And that statement, here I am, it's not really an offensive statement, but it's still a scary statement to the devil. Because it's telling the devil, I'll take what you got and I'll still stand. Nevertheless, when you stand, stand therefore. If all you can do is stand this morning, stand. Somebody say that right now. Here I am. 85 years old. As yet I am strong this day, as on the day that Moses sent me. Look what he says. This is my favorite part. Just as my strength was then, so now is my strength for war. He says, I know you young bucks might be looking at me like I'm already out of the game. You guys might be writing me off. I know I'm an old timer, but I'm still trained for battle, baby. I got some scars on me. You don't even know what I've been through, and I could still fight with the best of them. I could still pray with the best of them. I could still fast with the best of them. I could still win souls. Come on, somebody. He says, just as passionate as I was, the NIV says, just as vigorous as I was for battle, still I am for battle. He's bloodthirsty in a good way. Come on, somebody. He says, give me some demons that I can go and slay for my people. He says, just as vigorous as I was for battle, I got the same passion. See, because what you don't understand is when you're walking in the Lord, as time goes on, you can see the difference in an unbeliever's life and a believer's life. As they get older, the unbeliever, man, get grouchy. Come on, somebody. You fading. We all gonna get there. But the difference is if you see a believer on fire for God, as they get older, they get more wisdom. They get more wisdom. They start to train the next generation. Come on, CJ, you know what I'm talking about. They're not fading. Come on, somebody. They could still run with the lions. Just as vigorous as I was. When I read this, I said, it kind of hit me that I've been saved for about 7 years. And it hit me that I still cry for the lost when I see them. It hit me that I still pray with passion for people that don't know the Lord. It hit me that I'm still burdened for my family that doesn't know the Lord. And that's that Caleb in me that says I'm just as vigorous for spiritual battle and spiritual war as I was then. Let me just preach to the older generation. You still got a lot of life left in you. You still got a lot of battles left in you. Come on. This next generation needs you, your children, your sons, your daughters. Don't hang up the gloves now. You came too far. Don't hang up the gloves now. Don't hang up the prayer now. Don't hang up the fasting now. You still got a word in you for the next generation. Just as my strength was then, so is now my strength for war, both for going in and coming out. Both for going out and coming in. I travel, I go out. Pastor Ray sends me out, then I come in. I travel, I go out, and I come in. And it's all war. It's all war. It's all spiritual battle. Just, I'm blessed in the city. I'm blessed in the field. I'm blessed when I come and when we cast down every stronghold. Sickness and poverty must cease, for the devil is defeated. We are blessed. Everybody say blessed. Okay. Possession is the last point. This is perseverance. It's actually not the last point. It's my third point out of 4. Perseverance was my second point. You got to have that perseverance. That's what Caleb had. That's what made him say, I'm vigorous for battle. And then this point right here says possession. It's all about possession because he's waited. He stayed on fire. He stayed passionate. But now it's time to go and possess. Come on, somebody. Now it's time to go and take. Come on, somebody. Now it's time to claim the promise. See, when you do the groundwork, you already done the groundwork. He's done the spiritual work. Now all he's got to go and do is take the promise. Somebody say possess. Remember that video game? Finish him. What was that? Mortal Kombat? Finish him. You got to learn how to finish strong. Finish strong. Go and claim it. And he says, now therefore, look what he says at 85. 85. He says, now therefore, give me this mountain of which the Lord spoke in that day. Give me this mountain. For you heard in that day how the Anakim were there, the giants were there, and that the cities were great and fortified. Come on, somebody. It may be that the Lord will be with me and I shall be able to drive them out as the Lord said. It may be that I got one more battle left in me, he says. It may be that I got another move to make. Listen, it may be that you're still called to do something great for God. It may be. And what you got to understand about this city that the Lord's calling him to go take, that they were all scared of, it's fortified. It's ancient. I was reading about this city, and it's an ancient city. It goes back to 1700 BC. It's been established for a while. And this is the place that the Lord's calling them to go and take over. And I begin to get this word in my heart of the Lord saying, there are my people there's been things running from generation to generation. There's been bondages running from generation. It's an established bondage. Come on, somebody. Divorce it's been an established bondage in your family. Alcoholism, it's been an established bondage. Drug addiction, it's been ancient. And you have been called to go and dismantle that which has been ancient, that which has been continuous. You're called to break. Hebron was also something deep about it. It was also the place that Abraham used to reside. This is good right here. The place that Abraham lived at one time and resided. And as years have gone on, the ground has been lost. As years have gone on, the territory has been taken. As years have gone on, this ground has been lost. And so when Caleb's being called to go and take back this land, thank you, bro. I was waiting for that. Sweating like a Hebrew slave up here. Where was I? Okay, Abraham. The land was the land. It was God's land, and he had to go and reclaim what had been stolen through generations. And I begin to feel in my heart, there's been some things we've lost in the generations. There's been some convictions, especially in my generation. Can I talk about it for a moment? Especially in my generation, where in Christianity it feels like anything goes. It's just a free-for-all. You can do whatever you want. You can live however you want. Live like the devil Monday through Saturday, but just check in at church on Sunday and you'll be good. There's been some ground that's been lost, but God's raising up a Caleb generation that says we're going to go reclaim Abraham's land. We're going to go reclaim Abraham's land. We're going to go reclaim conviction. Come on, somebody. We're going to go reclaim holy living. Come on, somebody. We're going to go reclaim prayer. Come on, somebody. We're going to go reclaim fasting. We're going to take back ground and take back territory. This is how I'm going to finish it. The tribe of Judah, Caleb, David, Jesus. From the tribe of Judah. Caleb, man of war. David, man of war. A real man of war. 2 giant slayers. Jesus, the greatest giant slayer. I wish somebody in this place knew it's in your DNA to go and slay giants. I wish somebody in this place knew it's in your DNA to dismantle bondages and strongholds that have been running from generation to generation. I wish somebody knew that it's in your blood. Caleb, David, Jesus, Rise Church. Let's get the worship team up here. Caleb, David, Jesus. Rise, rise, rise. This isn't just a characteristic we have. This isn't just it's not just a characteristic. This is in our DNA. That's why when you see a situation, that's why you start to get passionate. That's why when you see a problem, that's why when Pastor Ray looks in the community and he sees issues, he sees problems, something in him says we got to get strategy from the Lord on how we're gonna conquer this. That's why when the freeze happened and people had nowhere to go, something inside of you said, you know what, we need to open our doors because people need a place to go. It's in your blood. It's in your DNA. It's in your DNA to rise to the occasion. Caleb, David, Jesus, you and me and you. You can sit back. Even the older generation, you can sit back and say, I'm going to coast this thing out. The best of my years in ministry are behind me. I've seen it. I've seen it many times. That's why God sends me so many different places and I preach and God gives me the amazing honor and opportunity to fire up all generations. Because sometimes I see the older generation, they feel like, especially because the millennials, they think they know it all. You try to go disciple, they don't get you, disciple them. You try to share wisdom, I know. You try to say, man, you need spiritual authority. I don't believe in authority. What do you mean you don't believe? You go to work and you got a manager. You got a shift leader. There's got to be authority in some. Come on, somebody. If there's not authority, we're not doing nothing. Try to share your wisdom. I'll just watch Pastor so-and-so online then. I don't need nobody in my business. This is a strategy of the enemy to disconnect. Millennials are leaving churches at a statistically, we are losing 50% of millennials. They're walking out of church. We need the older generation to come and pull somebody up. Go and snatch one of them and say, no, you're not going, not on my watch. Not before I rebuke you a few times. Come on, you can leave after I rebuke you a few times. Don't leave like you just gonna walk up out of here. Why? Because God's got a plan for you. Why? Because God loves you. Why? Because you got a calling. Why? Because you're destined and you're chosen. And so the older generation needs to get a fire. You need to get a fire. And the younger generation, we need to let them steward what God has given them. And not think that we got this all on ourselves. Caleb was reciting the promise. Why? Because the children, they don't remember that day. We need y'all to tell us testimonies, older generation. We need y'all to tell us testimonies. Tell us testimonies of how the Lord saved you, how the Lord redeemed you. Tell us testimonies of how when people would walk in, cancer was healed. Come on. Tell us testimonies of how the Lord did a work. There needs to be more dialogue. Do you understand? This is biblical. I'm not just speaking my opinion. Caleb is dialoguing with the next generation. Why? Because in dialogue, there's a transfer of vision. And if we don't dialogue, if we disconnect, then we're leaving the next generation. They're going to have to find it on their own. But if the first generation begins to dialogue with the Caleb legacy, if the Caleb generation dialogues with the Caleb legacy, we'll be able to catch. Some things aren't taught, they got to be caught. Knowledge, just teach me. No, you catch something. Catch something from your leaders. It might not even make sense in your mind. I don't even understand why we do it this way, but in my heart, I know it's right. I know it's right. It feels good to be lined up in battle. Father God, help us, Lord. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord, to be that Caleb generation, to be that Caleb legacy. To be the ones, Lord, that say, give me this mountain. To be the ones that say, Lord, I pray me personally that when I'm 80, Lord, that I'll have the same praise on my lips that says, give me another mountain, give me another battle, give me another soul. Come on. I pray, Lord, that we would be like Caleb and we would wait on you, because they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings like eagles. They shall walk and not faint. They shall walk and not grow weary, run and shall not faint. We need Caleb's. We need Caleb's that will take God at his word and say, nope, this is what he said. This is what he said when the devil comes and says it's not going to happen like you thought. Nope. This is what he said. He said, my children will be saved. Nope, he told me that the seed of the righteous shall be saved. It's over for you. It's over for your marriage. Nope, I know God said it. So he'll perform it because he's faithful. He's not a man that he shall lie. And Caleb says, nope, give me this mountain. And look what happens. And Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb as an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb to this day, because he wholly followed the Lord. He saw the blessing 45 years later. He saw the inheritance. He saw what God said. What kind of praise you think he started to give at that moment? What kind of shout? And look what it does. I'm going to finish with this. Look what it does for the next legacy, the generation after. His daughter's raised. This is years later. And his daughter gets married. And his daughter says, hey, this is the type, just look at the attitude. When you're a Caleb generation, you leave a Caleb legacy. His daughter says, hey, when she gets married, go ask my daddy for a field. Go ask my daddy for a blessing. Why can she, in boldness, say, I'm going to go claim a promise? Because her daddy, in boldness, claimed his promise. She got so much Caleb in her. It says, now it happened when she came to him that she urged him to ask her father for a field. Just like that. How many have? In-laws can be tough sometimes. Come on, somebody. On both sides. I take responsibility. Come on. And she dismounted from her donkey and she urged him to ask her father for a field and didn't wait for him to go ask him. This is a Caleb in her. She dismounted from her donkey. Hey, go ask my daddy for a field. All right, never mind. I got it. And when she dismounted from her donkey, Caleb said to her, what do you wish? So she said to him, give me a blessing. I'm like my daddy. Give me a blessing. I'm just like you. Give me a blessing. You're the one who taught me how to claim promise. You're the one who lived it. And check this out. I don't even know how old she was when he did that, but it's in her DNA to claim the blessing because of his obedience. It says, give me a blessing. Since you have given me land, so you gave me land in the south, give me also springs of water. Not just a blessing, but give me overflow. Come on, somebody. Give me springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Father, teach us how to claim promise. Father, teach us how to walk in promise. Father, teach us how to walk in authority. Father, teach us how to ask. Father, teach us how to wait. Raise up a Caleb generation. Then raise up a Caleb legacy. Just one more minute. Just in your heart, say, God, raise up the Caleb in me. Raise up the Caleb in me, Lord. Raise up the boldness in me. Raise up the courage in me. Some of you guys, God's been waiting to wake up the prayer warrior in you. God's been waiting to wake up the intercessor in you. You say, I don't preach like they do. I'm not on stages like so-and-so. But God has assigned you to be an intercessor in your family. Ain't nothing less. It's nothing less. It's the same thing. Raise us up, Lord, that we would claim your promise, fight the battles, and slay the giants. In Jesus' name.